I still think about it. That was 6 months ago. I was just 32 and trying to focus on my job as a nurse. But it felt impossible after I lost my baby. My home was tidy, the street outside was filled with kids playing, but inside, it felt empty and dark. One day I came home after a long shift. On my doorstep was a package. It was from my mother-in-law. I hesitated. I hadn't spoken to her since the loss. I brought it inside slowly. I sat at the kitchen table and opened it with trembling hands. Baby clothes were folded neatly inside. They looked so familiar. It hurt. Along with the clothes was a note. I felt sick reading it. It's never too late for a mother to try again. My chest tightened. Did she think I failed? Over the next few days, things changed in my home. I heard doors creaking open at night. I found my keys in odd places. At first, I laughed it off, chalking it up to tiredness. But then, I heard whispers coming from the baby's room. I told myself it was just my imagination. The more I tried to ignore it, the more real it felt. Then my mother-in-law started showing up unexpectedly. She would waltz in, all smiles, but her comments felt like digging into my wounds. You should be ready to try again, Maria. Time heals everything. My heart raced every time she talked. I didn't want her around. I felt suffocated and frustrated. One night I heard a loud creaking from the baby's room. I got up, my legs shaking. I walked toward the door, feeling a cold draft. I pushed the door open, and I swear I heard a giggle, like a tiny laugh filling the dark space. I felt paralyzed. I didn't turn on the light. I should have, but I just couldn't move. After her visits, shadows in my house grew thicker. Something was wrong. My mother-in-law's presence felt heavy. I wasn't sure what to do with my thoughts. Did she know something more than I did? A dark intuition gnawed at me, making it hard to breathe. Then one evening, she called out of the blue. "How are you doing with the clothes?" she asked. I froze. My heart sank. How did she know? It wasn't just grief anymore. It felt like something more sinister was creeping into my life. I wanted to scream, but stayed silent. I realized my fear was bigger than just my loss. Did she know the truth about that day? The thought made me shiver. I glanced toward the baby's room, feeling the weight of secrets behind its walls. It was all too unsettling. I never invited her in, yet I felt her presence lurking closer each day. My heart raced as I wondered what lay hidden in my home, waiting to be found. Just as I thought I might find peace, I heard a knock on the door. I opened it slowly, and there she stood, smiling. Only it felt all too familiar, and entirely wrong. I stepped back, my heart pounding against my chest. My mother-in-law stood there, the same unsettling smile planted on her face. She looked so cheerful, so composed, but it sent chills down my spine. I hadn't invited her, yet here she was, as if she had every right to be in my space. "Hello, Maria. I thought I'd stop by," she said, brushing past me before I could protest. The scent of her floral perfume filled the room, wrapping around me like a suffocating blanket. "What do you want?" I managed to ask, my voice barely steady. "Oh, just wanted to see how you're managing," she replied, her eyes darting around the living room, landing briefly on the baby's room. "Have you thought about putting the clothes away? They're just collecting dust." I felt a wave of heat rush to my face. "It's none of your business," I snapped. Her smile faltered for a moment, but then she chuckled lightly. "Oh, but it is, dear. I want what's best for you." The way she said best felt twisted, like a game I couldn't understand. I forced myself to breathe. I had to get her out of my house. "Why don't you leave?" I suggested, hoping my tone sounded firmer than my trembling hands. Instead of leaving, she walked further into the house. "I brought you something," she said, her voice brightening. Before I could ask what it was, she pulled out a small box from her purse. "Just a little something to cheer you up." She opened the box, revealing a delicate silver bracelet adorned with charms. Each charm seemed to represent a stage of motherhood. "See, for the next time," she said, her gaze unyielding, a little reminder of what's ahead. I felt sick. "What do you mean?" I asked, the words slipping out before I could think. "Your time is coming, Maria. I have faith in you," she replied, almost too chipper, a hint of something darker lurking just beneath the surface. Suddenly the air felt colder. I recalled the whispers, the creaking doors. Was it all connected? Was she somehow responsible for the strange occurrences? I needed answers, but the fear choked me. "Have you been in the baby's room?" I blurted out, the accusation hanging thick in the air. Her expression changed just for an instant, eyes widening like she had been caught. "Why would I?" She held my gaze steady, yet I sensed a flicker of something unsettling behind it. Then I remembered. Just days ago, I noticed a strange photo missing from the living room, a photo of me holding my baby. I felt a sudden rush of anger. "Where's the photo?" I demanded, taking a step closer. She huffed dismissively. "You really should let go of that, dear. Can't hold on to the past forever." That was it. I knew then that I couldn't trust her, that there was something wickedly wrong. When she spoke, I felt an inexplicable darkness slither through my thoughts, tightening its grip on my heart. Before I could confront her further, a loud crash echoed from the baby's room. I spun on my heel, panic flooding through me. My pulse raced as I headed for the door, but then froze. "Did you hear that?" I asked, my voice filled with dread. My mother-in-law's smile faded completely. "What was that?" she asked, her tone suddenly grave. I glanced over my shoulder, uncertainty gripping me harder. I don't know," I replied, feeling the wall of fear close in on me. An unsettling realization washed over me. I wasn't just wrestling with grief. There was something otherworldly tied to what I had lost and to her. The knock I had once dismissed now felt like a prelude to the chaos that was about to erupt. I turned back to face her, fear and fury mingling inside me. Just as I opened my mouth to shout for her to leave, everything went dark. I didn't know how long I stayed in the dark, swallowed by silence. My mind raced through 1,000 scenarios. Had she done this? Was she capable of something so sinister? Then I heard it. Soft, faint whimpering. I was jolted out of my freeze. It came from the baby's room. My heart raced again. I didn't even think. I bolted toward the noise, desperate to find out what was happening. The air felt heavy with dread as I opened the door. The space was dim, illuminated only by the faint glow of the nightlight near the crib. I squinted, trying to make sense of the shadows. The cradle rocked slightly, though there was no evidence of a breeze. "Hello," I called out, my voice trembling. The whimpering stopped. The silence screamed back at me, and a chill ran down my spine. Was I dreaming? Was this just grief playing tricks on my mind? I took a cautious step inside, the floorboard creaking beneath me. My gaze darted around the room, searching for signs of trouble. Then I spotted it, a framed picture lying face down on the floor. Instinctively, I knelt and flipped it over. It was the photo, the one I realized was missing. Me, holding my baby, full of life and love. My breath caught as I stared at it, but something was off. The image was blurred, distorted. Muffled voices echoed from a corner of the room, pulling my attention away from the picture. I looked up and saw my mother-in-law standing in the dark. She was staring at the crib. "You shouldn't have angered her," she said, almost as a whisper. "What are you talking about?" I snapped, filled with fear and confusion. "Get out of here, you're not welcome." Her smile returned, cold and twisted. "You brought her back, Maria. You can't just wish those things away. They're part of you now." I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. "What does that mean? Who are you talking about?" "Always remember what you've lost," she replied, her tone unnaturally cheerful. "It's the key to moving forward." Suddenly, the baby's crib shook violently, rattling the walls. I stumbled back, my heart racing as I pushed against the doorframe for balance. "Stop it!" I shouted, unable to control my voice. But the room grew colder, the atmosphere thickening with something dark and unexplainable. Then, as quickly as it began, the shaking stopped. An eerie calm settled, and in that stillness I saw something move in the corner of the room, a shadow that didn't belong. My breath caught in my throat. "Maria," my mother-in-law said, her voice now dripping with menace. "You will learn soon enough." I felt dizzy. I had to get out of there. I darted past her, the door clicking shut behind me. But as I ran, I glanced back at the baby's room. That shadow was now standing at the edge of the crib, poised and still. I stumbled through the darkness of the house, heart racing. My mind flashed with images of past memories. Echoes of laughter turned into whispers of dread. I didn't want to look over my shoulder, but I could feel her presence close behind me, looming. I had to escape her, but the fear of what waited in the baby's room paralyzed me. Just as I reached the front door, it swung shut with a force that shook the whole house. I was trapped. Then everything snapped into focus as a figure materialized in front of me. "You don't have to run," it said. I froze. This time my heart didn't just pound. It thudded into a suffocating silence. I recognized that voice. It was soft, too soft. I backed away slowly. The figure stepped closer, revealing a face that turned my blood ice cold. This wasn't over. I was far from safe. I blinked hard, willing the figure in front of me to disappear. But there was no escaping the reality of her presence. It was Lisa. My baby's laughter had once made her face glow, yet now it was twisted with something cruel. "Why are you doing this?" I stammered, fear pulling at my throat. My mind raced with images of Lisa, memories crawling up like vines, suffocating my thoughts. "I'm here to help you, Maria," she said, her voice deceptively sweet. "You just need to accept what you've brought into this world." "No!" I yelled, anger flashing through me. "You can't help. You're—" The words stuck in my throat. I couldn't bear the thought of saying it. "Dead?" she asked softly, head tilting as if she found it amusing. "I'm just as alive as you are in a way. You remember the stories, don't you? About keeping the spirits happy?" "What stories?" I tried to step back, but the house felt like it was closing in. I was being swallowed by dread that seeped from the walls. I could hear the pulse of my own heartbeat, loud, echoing. "Your mother-in-law warned you," she said, stepping closer, her smile widening. "You brought her back. You need to play your part, darling. It's too late to undo it." My thoughts spiraled. I glanced around the dimly lit room, searching for an escape. "I didn't mean to," I whispered, more to myself than to her. "I just wanted my baby back. I wanted Nicole." Her laughter pierced through the air, sharp and chilling. "You can't wish away death, Maria, but you can invite the darkness to stay." I felt as if I was drowning. The air grew heavier, and before I knew it, I pressed against the wall to steady myself. My vision blurred. Was this a nightmare, or worse, reality? Suddenly, a loud thud echoed from behind me. I turned, startled. The front door had collapsed in on itself, splintered wood scattered across the floor. I needed to escape, but my legs felt rooted in place. "Stay with me, Maria," Lisa said, the shadows closing in around her. "There are things you don't understand. You want your baby back? Then embrace what comes with it." With a surge of adrenaline, I shoved past her, racing toward the mess of the front door. I climbed over the debris, fear propelling me forward. But as I reached the porch, I turned back just in time to see the flickering lights in the baby's room, a soft glow I hadn't noticed before. The shadows twisted and writhed behind Lisa, morphing into shapes. Echoes of laughter swirled around me, sounding disturbingly familiar. That's when I saw it, a tiny hand reaching from the darkened doorway to the nursery. I couldn't breathe. "Maria!" Lisa shrieked, but the warning was drowned out. I was drawn in, heart pounding, desperate to know if this was a dream or a nightmare come to life. I stumbled toward the nursery, my heart racing. It felt like I was moving in slow motion, each footstep dragging against the floor. The flickering lights drew me in, whispering promises of comfort and warmth, but I was keenly aware of the darkness lurking behind me. "Maria, don't!" Lisa cried, but her voice faded like a distant memory. I pushed the door open and my breath caught. The nursery was filled with a soft glow, but it was wrong. The air shimmered with an unnatural energy, and the shadows inside seemed to flicker like flames. I felt the pull of something, a force strong enough to grip my heart. That's when I saw her, Nicole, my baby. I gasped. She was lying on the crib, her tiny hand reaching out, fingers wiggling as if she was trying to touch me. My heart cracked open, joy and dread spilling out together. "Nicole!" I cried, rushing toward her. My fingers brushed against the rail of the crib, but something stopped me. A chill raced up my arm, warning me. "Don't touch her," a voice echoed from the hallway. It was my mother-in-law, her shadow stretching ominously across the threshold. I hadn't seen her since the funeral, but here she was, eyes wide and frantic. "Maria, listen to me." The joy I'd felt moments ago vanished, replaced by a tide of fear. "What's happening?" I shouted, turning back to the crib. Nicole was still reaching for me, her eyes bright and expectant. "She needs me." "No!" my mother-in-law yelled, voice breaking. "That's not your baby anymore. It's something else." Something else. The words echoed in my mind, slamming against my skull like a drum. I turned to Lisa, who now stood in the doorway, shadowed and grinning. "You see, Maria, it's not just about bringing her back. You have to understand her newfound purpose." "Purpose?" I croaked, my mind racing. This wasn't just a reunion, it was a sinister invitation. The darkness behind Lisa pulsed like a heartbeat, and I knew it wasn't going to let me leave. The room felt alive, and I could see the shadows in the corners moving, writhing like snakes. They seemed to be laughing, teasing me. I felt the weight of their gaze, hungry and expectant, as if they were waiting for me to make a choice. "Your choice," Lisa purred, her voice laced with malice. "You can have her, but what will you give in return?" The air crackled with a tension I had never felt before. I wanted to reach out to my baby, but fear clung to me like a shroud. "I just want Nicole back," I whispered, my voice trembling. But deep down I felt the truth rising. Something had been unleashed that night. "Too late," my mother-in-law said, stepping closer as the shadows surged. "There is no going back. What's lost is lost, and what you brought here is far beyond our world." Just then the light in the nursery flickered violently, plunging everything into darkness. I couldn't see anything, but I felt the change in the air, the heaviness, the presence. Then everything went dark. I didn't know how long I was in the dark. It felt like an eternity, but it couldn't have been. Panic surged in my chest, and I fumbled for the doorframe. "Help!" I called out, my voice thin and shaky. I was keenly aware that the shadows were waiting, lurking just beyond the grasp of my sight. The silence that followed was thick. I held my breath, straining to hear anything beyond the pounding of my heart. Then I noticed a faint sound, a soft cooing from the crib. It was Nicole, or whatever had taken her place. "Nicole?" I ventured, afraid of what might answer. The shadows shifted, and I felt a cold draft pass through me. I inched closer, feeling my way through the dark. My fingers grazed the edge of the crib. "Maria!" My mother-in-law's voice sliced through the silence again. "Get out, you can't stay here." I wanted to listen. I wanted to obey. But every instinct in me pulled me toward the crib, toward that sweet sound of my baby. "But she needs me," I shouted back, feeling hysteria creep into my voice. "She doesn't understand," she shouted desperately. Whatever is happening, it's not for you, it's not yours anymore." Something in her tone struck me. A part of me wanted to scream. Another more primal part clung to hope. It pushed me to reach out. My hand lingered above the crib, hovering over where Nicole should be. But then I froze. An unnatural pain shot through my wrist like ice, and the air practically crackled around me. I recoiled, pulling my hand back as if burned. "Do you see?" Lisa's voice echoed, mischievous and oily, making my skin crawl. "She's waiting for you to make a choice. But beware, Maria. Choices come with a cost." The shadows twisted further, their laughter a low rumble. The ambiance grew darker still, as if they fed off my fear, heavy and suffocating. Suddenly, I felt something brush against my leg. I gasped, stumbling back, and realized it was a small toy that had rolled away from the crib, something Nicole used to play with. The rubber surface felt familiar, but mud and grime coated it like a taint. Panic clawed at my throat. "Get out, Maria," my mother-in-law begged, and I could hear the desperation, but I still felt pulled, anchored to the crib. My fingers brushed the rail. I took a deep breath, finding a sliver of strength. "Nicole," I called into the darkness. "Is that you?" I sensed a shift. The shadows stilled, and in that moment, it felt like I wasn't alone. Something stirred at my back, and with a shuddering realization I turned, just in time to see a figure watching from the doorway, illuminated briefly by a flicker of light. It was Lisa, but her face was twisted in a grotesque smile, and I felt a chill race down my spine. "You can't escape what you've brought back with you, Maria. It's just a matter of time." Before I could react, the darkness closed in again, and with it came a piercing silence that only hinted at what was to come. All I knew was that the price of my choice was creeping ever closer. I stood frozen, my heart pounding in my chest. The darkness clung to me, thick and suffocating. Lisa's words echoed in my mind, twisting and turning like snakes coiling tighter around my sanity. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was behind me, watching. "Get out, Maria." My mother-in-law's desperate cries broke through the shroud of fear around me, pushing me back towards reality. I took a step away from the crib, but then I heard it again. A soft, pleading coo. It was as if the sound sliced through the air, pulling at the strings of my heart. I gritted my teeth, needing to find a way out, but I couldn't abandon my baby. "No, I have to save her," I shouted into the darkness, nearly choking on my fear. I turned my head back toward the crib, trying to pierce the gloom. As I leaned closer, the shadows twisted again, and I thought I saw a movement, a tiny hand reaching up through the darkness. My breath caught in my throat. "Nicole?" My voice sounded more like a whisper, but then the cooing turned into something else. A low, guttural sound that turned my blood cold. I stepped back, pressing myself against the wall, my mind racing. Lisa had warned me, but I had ignored her. I was trapped between the baby I longed for and the reality I feared. In that moment, the crib began to sway, as if something inside it were trying to break free. The shadows coiled around me, and I barely noticed the air growing colder. I was consumed by the realization that whatever resided in that crib was not my child. Without thinking, I spun toward the door. My hands shook as I reached for the handle, but just before I could twist it, the door slammed shut. I screamed, the sound echoing in the stillness. "Maria," Lisa's voice taunted from the darkness, "you don't really want to leave, do you?" I turned around sharply, my heart racing. The shadows seemed to pulse and swirl, forming shapes and faces that shifted just beyond my comprehension. I felt paralyzed, torn between wanting to escape and the instinct to save my child. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimmer of movement. Something small and white darted past me, a piece of paper crumpled and stained. I bent down instinctively to pick it up, my fingers trembling. It was a photo of Nicole, smiling and carefree, but there was something off about it. "Look closer," Lisa said, her voice smooth and dangerous. I took a deep breath and squinted at the image. The background felt wrong, too dark, too distorted. And then, in a small corner, I saw another figure. It was silhouetted, its features obscured. I froze, dread pooling in my gut. Who was that? Before I could respond, I felt a rush of air behind me. The shadows surged, and in a panic, I scanned the room. I realized I was no longer entirely alone. Then everything went dark. The crib was gone. The walls felt like they were closing in around me. I tried to scream, but no sound escaped my lips. The weight of the darkness squeezed at my chest, and in that silence, something shifted just beyond my reach. Someone was in the house. I stumbled forward, still disoriented from the sudden darkness. The air was thick with an unsettling energy, and I could barely see my hands in front of my face. Panic surged inside me, and I pressed against the wall, feeling for any familiar object. My thoughts raced. Had something really been there, or was my mind playing tricks on me? "Maria," an all-too-familiar whisper echoed. I flinched. Lisa was here, lurking just beyond my sight. "You should have listened." "Where are you?" I breathed, my voice trembling. I wanted to sound strong, but fear tightened its grip around me. Was she truly in the room, or was it all in my head? I could feel the shadows closing in, like they were part of the darkness itself. Then I heard it. A soft click, like the turning of a doorknob. My heart leapt into my throat. The door! I sprinted toward the sound, praying I could escape this nightmare. I reached out, but my fingers brushed against empty air. I was lost. "Trust me," Lisa's voice purred, dangerously close now. "Let go of the past, Maria. You don't need that child anymore." Her words gripped me. I shook my head violently. "No, I'm not. You're wrong." I took a step back, only to feel a cold gust race past me, filling my lungs with dread. Then I heard it again. The cooing, softer now, a mere echo of what it had been. I hesitated, the instinct to turn back, fighting against my need to flee. Could it be Nicole? Was that sound really a plea for help? I stumbled, nearly losing my balance. "I know where she is," Lisa taunted, a cruel smile evident in her voice. "But you have to let go first." I hesitated again, memories flooding my mind, flashbacks of joy and warmth, of cradling my baby, of laughter that seemed so far away now. But alongside those memories, shadows of doubt danced around the edges. Had I truly lost her? Desperation surged inside me. I turned my back on the darkness, focusing on the sound of life that pulled at my heart. "Nicole," I called out, my voice echoing back at me, fragmented and twisted. The air shifted suddenly, and I stumbled across something solid. A handle? I gripped it tightly, praying it would lead me back to the light. I twisted, feeling resistance, like the door was trying to keep me from opening it. I pushed harder. With a final desperate effort, the door swung open, spilling cold light into the suffocating darkness. I stumbled forward, collapsing into the light, but the shadows followed, spilling through the crack behind me. When I regained my bearings, I found myself in the hallway, heart racing, breathless. The weight of despair hung in the air. The house felt different now. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a flash of white, a baby blanket crumpled by the stairs. That's when I saw it. A tiny, delicate shoe, one I recognized all too well. I scooped it up, feeling a chill spark of recognition. But it didn't make sense. How did it get here? Before I could ponder any further, the sound of soft, echoing laughter floated down the hall, slicing through my thoughts like a knife. It was too sweet, too innocent, and yet so utterly wrong. The chill raced down my spine. I wasn't alone, and I was running out of time. My heart pounded in my chest as that laughter echoed. It felt like a taunt. I held the shoe tightly, as if it could shield me from whatever was lurking in the house. This was my home, but it felt foreign now, twisted into something sinister. I took a deep breath and moved forward, stepping cautiously toward the laughter. Each footfall felt heavy, muffled by the thick carpet. The laughter faded, replaced by a whispering wind that seemed to curl around corners, beckoning me closer. I felt like a moth, drawn to a flame, knowing the risks, but unable to resist the pull. The hallway stretched endlessly before me, shadows dancing at the edges of my vision. Then, another sound joined the laughter. A door creaked open, and a shiver streaked down my spine. I had to take a chance. I moved towards the sound, feet gluing to the floor with each step. The door at the end of the hall stood ajar. I could see a faint light spilling out from the crack, flickering like a candle struggling to stay lit. As I approached, a knot formed in my stomach. This was it? I could feel it. Pushing the door open, I edged into the room. The light was warm and inviting, not at all what I expected. But the sight before me sent my heartbeat racing again. The room was filled with forgotten toys, the kind I'd packed away months ago, plastic blocks, stuffed animals, and yes, even that little musical mobile. It spun slowly in the corner, tinkling a soft lullaby. "No," I whispered, backing away instinctively. "How sweet." Lisa's voice broke the calm. She stood in the doorway, her silhouette framed by the light behind her. "It's just like you left it." "Why are you doing this?" I found my voice laced with anger and confusion. "You have no right." "Right? Oh, Maria, we both know rights don't matter anymore." She stepped further into the room, the light casting strange shadows on her face. "This is our past, and it's not done with you yet." I turned away, clenching my teeth. The laughter returned, this time without joy, just coldness. "Nicole needs me," I shouted. "Where is she?" "That's just it," Lisa replied, her eyes glinting with something I couldn't quite read. "Perhaps she doesn't need you at all. Can you see how wonderful this place is? How peaceful?" "That's not peace," I cried, the hurt in my chest spilling over. "It's a prison." Then, the mobile overhead stopped spinning. Silence draped itself over the room, oppressive and thick. The shadows twisted, and I could feel them creeping closer, wrapping themselves around my legs. "Leave her alone," I shouted again, but the words felt hollow in the empty space. Suddenly, a crash sounded from behind me. The door slammed shut, cutting me off from the hallway and the escape it promised. I whirled around, panic flooding through me. I was trapped. As the shadows coiled around me, I realized that whatever this was, it was just the beginning of something far worse. I needed to think fast, but all I could hear was that chilling lullaby returning, echoing in my mind. Then, I noticed something flicker in the corner of my vision. A movement, just beyond the toys. I turned, desperate to confront whatever lay hidden in the shadows, praying it wasn't too late. The shadows coiled tighter, and the laughter turned to shrieks that echoed off the walls, washing over me like cold water. I had to break free. I scanned the room, adrenaline coursing through me, searching for anything I could use to escape this nightmare. Then I saw it. The window. A small painted frame that had been left cracked open just a sliver. My heart raced at the idea of escape. Turning my back to Lisa, I sprinted across the room, pushing aside dusty toys and the remnants of innocence. The shadows flickered ominously, but I couldn't look back now. I could feel Lisa's presence suffocating me, her laughter echoing like a haunting refrain, urging me to reconsider. I reached the window, feeling the cool air brush against my skin. Just as I was about to hoist myself up, a sharp pull on the fabric of my sleeve yanked me back. I spun around to find Lisa, her expression dark and twisted, a smirk plastered across her face. "Still running, Maria? You really think you can escape what you've summoned?" Her voice oozed with condescension, and I felt my resolve waver. "Let me go," I shouted, feeling the weight of fear pushing down on me like an anchor. Behind me the shadows swirled, forming grotesque shapes that danced with malice. But thoughts of Nicole propelled me forward. I couldn't give in. I had to fight. I squirmed free from her grasp, and with a final leap, I slammed my palm against the window pane, forcing it open wider. The rush of fresh air hit me like a wave of clarity, and in that moment of determination, I caught a glimpse of the ground below. It was a long way down, but freedom was waiting just outside. Lisa's laughter crescendoed, echoing as she lunged toward me. "You're leaving her behind, Maria. Do you really want to abandon what can be? She needs you. I need you." The words sent a jolt of fear through me, but I couldn't hesitate. "No," I shouted, forcing myself to turn back and look at the toys strewn about the room. "You're not her. You're a lie." With one swift motion I clambered through the window, limbs working in harmony with my desperation. The air whooshed past me as I fell, and for a moment, time stood still. I lost the warmth of the nursery, the laughter, the darkness, and then I landed in a heap on the grass outside. Gasping, I rolled onto my back, feeling the cool earth beneath me. I looked up at the house, the window, now a distant memory, watching it loom over me like a malevolent giant. Had I truly escaped? The weight of uncertainty pressed down on me as I struggled to my feet, brushing grass and dirt from my clothes. But then a flicker of movement caught my eye. I turned to see a figure standing in the doorway, a dark silhouette against the glow of the moon, framed by the open window. The moment felt like both a receding memory and an ongoing nightmare. I ran, pounding my feet against the ground until I reached the street. My mind raced with unanswered questions. What had I truly escaped? Was Lisa still in there? Had I truly left the darkness behind, or would it follow me, always just out of sight? I paused to catch my breath, and for a moment I felt a sense of calm wash over me. But as I looked back at the house, shadows flickered behind the window. The laughter echoed faintly in my ears, a reminder that this wasn't the end. I left that neighborhood behind, never looking back as I drove away. I settled into a new city, in a home filled with light and laughter. Still, some nights in the silence, I would hear a soft, distant cooing, and wonder if I had truly escaped, or if the shadows of my past would ever let me go. I moved on, yet I can't help but wonder about Liz and about the price of my escape. Sometimes I think about that night, about the choices I made and the things I didn't understand. I've learned to hold on to hope, even when the darkness tries to creep back in. After all, who knows what truly lies waiting in the shadows?